There are places on Earth where the air feels alive. Not just warm or heavy or humid, but alive, moving in slow, ancient rhythms, carrying the scent of soil older than human memory and the soft vibrations of life pulsing in every direction. The jungle is not a place you simply enter. It's a world that envelops you, pulls you inward, quiets your breath, and heightens your senses. When you stand at the edge of a rainforest for the first time, you don't just see trees. You see walls of green rising like cathedral columns, branches woven into arches, sunlight fractured into millions of trembling pieces by layers of leaves that never stop moving. It feels like standing at the doorway of something profound, something sacred, something that continues with or without you. As you step into this world, the first thing you notice is the sound. Jungles do not have silence. Even in the very early morning, before the sun climbs above the horizon, you can hear life stirring, soft crackles of movement in the undergrowth, the first notes of birds calling out to one another across the canopy, the faint hum of countless insects beginning their daily conversations. The jungle is a choir without rest, a never-ending layering of rhythms where every creature, small or large, plays a part in keeping the song alive. And yet, despite the overwhelming symphony, there is a strange sense of harmony. Nothing feels out of place. Nothing feels unnecessary. Everything moves with purpose. As the sun rises, the forest reveals itself more fully. Mist curls upward like breath from the earth. Leaves glisten with water that condensed overnight in the thick, warm air. Small droplets fall from above, hitting the ground with soft taps, not because it's raining, but because in jungles, water is always falling. The humidity wraps itself around you, pressing lightly against your skin, reminding you that this is a world where moisture rules everything, shaping the soil, feeding the plants, guiding the animals, even influencing the way sound moves through the air. Jungles cover only a small fraction of our planet, yet they hold more than half of all species known to science. And that number is still growing. Every year, researchers discover new insects, new plants, new fungi, even new mammals hiding in the depths of these dense forests. The jungle is an engine of life, a place where evolution moves quickly and relentlessly. Species adapt, compete, cooperate, and sometimes vanish without ever being seen by human eyes. Here, everything is connected in ways we still struggle to fully understand. The deeper you travel, the more you realize that the jungle has layers. Above you, the canopy towers like a continent in the sky, home to creatures that may never touch the ground in their lifetimes. Beneath your feet, roots twist like buried rivers, connecting trees into vast underground networks that communicate through chemical signals. In between, vines descend like ropes, leaves unfold like hands, and thousands of unseen creatures scurry, crawl, glide, leap, and fly through the spaces between trunks. Walking through a jungle can feel like walking through time. Some of the trees around you began growing before your grandparents were born. Some stretch back to centuries when entire civilizations rose and fell. You begin to understand why many indigenous cultures see the jungle not just as a habitat, but as a living ancestor, something that teaches, shelters, warns, and provides. There is wisdom here, embedded in every trunk and root, whispered by every river that cuts through the forest, carried by every gust of warm wind. This world is challenging, of course. Jungles test everything that enters them. They are full of predators and parasites, spines and toxins, mud that swallows your boots whole, and rivers that hide creatures evolved for stealth. Yet, despite its harshness, the rainforest is also a place of balance and generosity. It provides food, medicine, shelter, and life to millions of species, including people who have lived within its borders for thousands of years. The jungle is both danger and sanctuary, chaos and order, beauty and brutality. Its identity formed from extremes coexisting in harmony. And as we start this journey deeper into its heart, every step reveals another story waiting to be told. When you push through thick layers of vines and emerge into a clearing, the jungle changes tone. The sunlight reaches the forest floor here, illuminating patches of moss and clusters of small flowers, and for the first time, you see colors beyond endless green. Some petals glow blue like gemstones, others burn red like embers, some shimmer in iridescent purples that seem almost too vivid to exist naturally. The animals here seem just as bold. Butterflies the size of your hand drift lazily through beams of light, while tiny frogs with neon skin cling to leaves, their colors warning predators of their potent chemical defenses. Despite its beauty, the jungle is shaped more by competition than cooperation. Everything here fights for light. Saplings strain upward, stretching toward small holes in the canopy where sunbeams slip through. Vines wrap themselves around trunks, climbing higher and higher, sometimes choking the very trees that gave them support. Epiphytes attach themselves to branches like opportunists taking advantage of prime real estate. Life in the jungle may be abundant, but so is the struggle to claim enough resources to survive. Yet under this competition lies an intricate web of interdependence. Fruit trees rely on bats to scatter their seeds across long distances. Flowers depend on hummingbirds with enormous energy needs, their wings beating up to 80 times per second. Leafcutter ants prune vegetation not for themselves, but for the fungus gardens they cultivate underground. The forest thrives because its inhabitants have learned to weave themselves into a shared system, each playing a role that keeps the ecosystem resilient. Night in the jungle is a world of its own. As daylight fades, the temperature drops slightly, and a different cast of creatures takes the stage. The chorus of insects intensifies, rising like the roar of a distant ocean. Eyes shine in the darkness, glints of yellow, green, and red reflecting the beam of a flashlight. Owls glide silently through the canopy, while large snakes navigate tree branches with the confidence of creatures that have mastered invisibility. Some predators rely entirely on sound, others on scent, and some on the faint trails of heat left by their prey. In this darkness, evolution has produced astonishing adaptations. But perhaps the most remarkable transformation happens when rain arrives. A jungle rainstorm is not gentle. It begins abruptly, as if someone turned on a faucet in the sky. The canopy trembles under the assault of countless drops, leaves bend and funnel water downward, and within minutes, rivers swell and pathways turn into streams. The air thickens, fog rises, and water fills every crevice. And then, just as quickly as it arrived, the storm fades, leaving behind a forest renewed. The scent of wet soil rises like incense, and animals emerge again, beginning another cycle of feeding, hunting, singing, and survival. It is in these moments, between chaos and calm, that the jungle feels most alive, revealing its dual rhythm: relentless and gentle, dangerous and nurturing, ancient and ever-changing. Human history and jungle history have always been intertwined. For countless indigenous cultures, the rainforest is not merely a place to live. It is a library of knowledge, a pharmacy of medicinal plants, a source of spiritual identity, and a teacher of resilience. Their understanding of this environment runs deeper than scientific observation. They read the forest the way others read books, tracking changes in bird calls, interpreting the movement of insects, recognizing subtle shifts in wind and humidity that signal oncoming storms. Many modern medicines trace their origins back to plants discovered through indigenous knowledge, plants capable of healing infections, reducing pain, or even fighting cancer. Modern scientists, too, find the jungle endlessly fascinating. They study how trees communicate through chemical signals released into the air, warning neighbors about insect attacks. They uncover fungi capable of digesting plastic, bacteria that produce powerful antibiotics, and plants that store age-old secrets in their DNA. The jungle is a laboratory of evolution, where species adapt faster and in more varied ways than almost anywhere else on Earth. The tragedy, of course, is that jungles are disappearing. Deforestation, climate change, mining, and agriculture are carving away at ecosystems that took millions of years to develop. Entire species vanish before we ever discover them. Rivers cloud with sediment, animals lose their homes, and local climates shift drastically. Yet despite all these pressures, the jungle continues to fight for survival. Seeds still sprout in the shade, rivers still carve new paths, forests regrow when allowed the chance. Nature, even under immense strain, is relentless in its desire to persist. And there are reasons for hope. Conservation efforts across the world are expanding. Indigenous communities are gaining more rights to protect their ancestral lands. Scientists are mapping ecosystems with better accuracy, identifying what needs protection most urgently. People everywhere are beginning to understand the importance of preserving jungles, not just for biodiversity, but for climate stability, clean air, and the simple truth that these forests represent one of the last great wonders of the natural world. When you stand in the heart of a jungle, surrounded by life that took millions of years to evolve, it's hard not to feel humility. Everything around you exists because countless generations before it survived, adapted, and resisted extinction. Every leaf, every insect, every howl from the canopy tells a story older than human civilization. And you realize that places like this are irreplaceable. There is no technological substitute for a rainforest. There is no artificial recreation of a living ecosystem this complex. Protecting it is not just an environmental effort, it is an act of preserving the planet's own memory. As the journey through the jungle nears its end, you begin to notice how deeply it has affected your senses. You now hear subtle sounds you missed before: the distant rumble of a waterfall miles away, the faint crackle of a lizard darting across dry leaves, the soft wing beats of a hawk gliding overhead. Your eyes learn to detect movement even in dense foliage. Your mind begins to anticipate the forest's rhythms. What once felt overwhelming now feels strangely familiar, almost comforting. The jungle teaches patience. It teaches observation. It teaches respect for things larger and more enduring than yourself. Every moment spent here reveals another layer of meaning. How vines climb toward light, how predators wait without moving for hours, how trees depend on one another for strength, how entire ecosystems operate like a single organism breathing in slow, deep cycles. You start to understand why so many explorers, scientists, and storytellers describe jungles as living entities. They feel conscious, not in a mystical sense, but in the way countless parts coordinate to preserve balance. When you watch a troop of monkeys swing across the canopy, or hear the low roar of a jaguar echo across the forest, or see thousands of fireflies blinking in unison along the riverbank, you feel like you are witnessing nature's purest expression. Eventually, you reach the forest's edge again. The dense green walls begin to thin, sunlight grows stronger, and the sounds of the outside world slowly return. And yet, a part of the jungle stays with you: the scent of wet earth, the echo of distant birds, the memory of trees rising like ancient pillars into endless green. The jungle is more than a place. It is an experience that reshapes the way you see life. A reminder that Earth still holds mysteries beyond our understanding. A promise that even in a modern world, wildness endures. And as you leave, you can't help but feel grateful for every step taken along its winding paths. If you enjoyed this journey, consider exploring more places like it. Subscribe, leave a comment, and let us know which moment of the jungle spoke to you the most. Until next time, may your curiosity remain as wild and alive as the rainforest itself.